The story kicks off at Seohan University, where Han Tai-soo, a 23-year-old student, gets introduced. Two girls come up to him all smiles after hearing from Yunhee that he's known for covering classes for others without ever skipping. They ask him for a favor, but instead of answering, Tai-soo just shows them a flyer for his proxy attendance service. On it, the prices are listed: 10,000 won for attending a class, 100,000 won for finishing assignments, and a clear note saying no exam proxies since that's illegal. The girls are shocked, one questioning the flyer and the other asking if he really charges for this. Calmly, Tai-soo explains it's 10,000 per class, but since it's their first time and they came through a friend, he'll give them a discount. The girls happily agree, thank him, and say they'll count on him. He calls them his customers. Right then, two of his friends show up from behind. They praise him for being so clever, saying he looks more and more like a businessman every time. They even ask if he can help them out too. Without saying a word, Tai-soo hands them the same flyer. His friends laugh, complaining that even his close friends they don't get a discount. Later in class, when the professor calls attendance, Tai-soo smoothly answers for his friends too. When the lesson ends and the professor dismisses everyone, he slips out right away. His friends notice and joke maybe he's running off to meet a girlfriend, but then laugh, saying it's probably just another part-time job. They tease that he'd probably grab someone by the collar and shout the money was worth 3 months' rent. They even say if he ever starts dating, they'll do a naked breakdance and upload it on YouTube. The narration shifts into Tai-soo's perspective. For students without parental backup, every minute matters, and survival means treating time like an investment. Back at home, he checks the gold price and sees it went up. Then he looks at his phone, noting tomorrow's class is at 11. If he sleeps 4 hours, he can play until 7. If he farms about 1.5 billion gold in game, he'll earn good money. Of all the things in his life, gaming is what he values most. It requires no physical effort. He can play whenever he's free, and on lighter days, he even does assignments while grinding. Watching the screen explode with battles feels oddly relaxing. Other players gather, amazed by his performance. They notice he hasn't spent real money but still deals huge damage. Whispering, they recognize him as that famous gold farmer who sells in-game cash without spending any. Then another player, Fallen Power Angel, shows up and starts trash-talking. She insults him and tells him to leave their guild's hunting zone before she wrecks him. Tai-soo ignores her and keeps playing calmly. The more he doesn't respond, the angrier she gets until she's spamming curses, even threatening to meet him in real life and beat him. The scene jumps to a police station. Tai-soo has filed a complaint against that abusive player. There the player is revealed as a young woman, frustrated, insisting she was provoked. Still, the officer scolds her. At that moment, Tai-soo arrives. The officer recognizes him and introduces the girl behind Fallen Power Angel as Chamia. The instant Mia sees him, both freeze. Their eyes lock and recognition hits. Excited, Mia blurts out that it's really Han Tai-soo. The officer notices and asks if they know each other. Mia immediately confirms, saying Tai-soo is her ex-boyfriend. Quietly, Tai-soo reflects, realizing the girl in front of him is truly his ex from 5 years ago. Same age, same school, same class. Back then, Mia was quiet, unnoticed, the kind of girl always reading in the corner. She was ordinary to the point of being invisible. He had once approached her, placing a paper on her desk telling her to come to the library at 4. He waved and left. She looked at the note, then held it to her chest, smiling in happiness. Most of his memories of her had faded, except the breakup. It was September 27th in their second year of high school when her family suddenly moved away overnight. Following her out of the station, that memory resurfaces. They were supposed to meet that day. He wonders why she left without saying anything. For a moment, he thinks of asking, but stops himself. Meanwhile, Mia mutters in frustration about how ridiculous it is to now deal with him demanding 100,000 won settlement over some insults in a game. Tai-soo holds back, deciding this isn't the moment. Instead, he studies her, asking himself if this is really the same girl he once knew. At first, he thought it was just someone with the same name, but now he knows it's her. He wonders how someone can change so much. Even people at reunions look different. But Mia feels completely unfamiliar. Not just her looks, but her aura. It's totally different. She feels like a delinquent now. Nothing like the shy girl he remembered. He thinks normally when someone says it's me, the reaction is recognition. But with Mia, everything feels strange. Suddenly, she spins around, confronting him, demanding to know why he's following her. She accuses him of feeling guilty for charging money over just a few in-game insults. She reminds him they once knew each other and thought he'd laugh it off, but instead he asked for money, which she calls petty. Taisu wonders why she's talking so much. She presses harder, asking if he plans to apologize. He calmly replies he's not following her. Taisu warns her back, saying he feels no guilt. He reminds her he gave her a discount, lowering the fine from 100,000 to 10,000 just because he knew her. He adds he could always raise it again. Hearing this, Mia softens a bit, admitting she doesn't even have 10,000 won right now. She asks him to let it slide once, but he refuses, saying he'll still take it. Finally, she gives in, agreeing to pay 10,000. She adds that even with his wealthy background, he's still sharp with money, someone destined to be rich. At that point, Taisu calls her name. When she responds, he quietly asks how she's been. She freezes at the question. He notices and asks why. She explains it's because he's changed. He never used to care. She says nothing worth mentioning has happened, and there's no point telling him. She reminds him they won't see each other again, and as long as she pays, that's all he needs to know. She asks him not to be curious, just like they never cared before. She says they should keep living like the other doesn't exist. With that, she wishes him well and walks away. Watching her leave, Taisu reflects those were the last words of his ex-girlfriend after 5 years. He wonders if that's really all she has to say. He reminds himself she was the one who vanished without warning. So if anyone should be mad, it's him. He admits the settlement wasn't about money. He only wanted an excuse to keep her around a little longer because he's never been good with words. As he walks away, he accepts it as the end. They'll never meet again, but fate has other plans. A month later at Seohan University, Taisu and Mia cross paths once more. Both are caught completely off guard. Flustered, Mia mutters a single word under her breath. Again. The scene shifts to later. In his apartment, Taisu stands by the window of his new place, watching as a moving truck stops nearby. A family is relocating into one of the houses close by. He thinks to himself how wild it is that someone actually managed to find a place like this at such timing, comparing it to scoring an S-class drop in a game. It had only been 4 days since the semester began, and this apartment was the only one-room spot within a 5-minute walk from campus that came with a 5 million won deposit and a 500,000 won rent. Even though the building was old, the low cost and prime location made it extremely rare and nearly impossible to get. Taisu reminds himself that most of the residents in this area are students from the same university. As his thoughts wander, a familiar name pops up, Chamia. He wonders if she's commuting. The sudden encounter with her the previous day replays in his mind. It had been so unexpected. He remembers how it happened. She was called into the broadcast room. The moment he saw her there, he froze in shock, questioning why she was even present. Mia, just as surprised, stiffened the moment she recognized him. Convinced he was stalking her, she looked disgusted. Panicking, she even reached for her phone, threatening to call the cops, claiming a suspicious man was nearby. Baffled by her reaction, Taisu just tapped her lightly on the head and asked what nonsense she was spouting, quickly explaining he was also a student there. Her eyes widened in shock when she realized he was enrolled at the same university, even more so when she found out he was in media and communication. Taisu, equally stunned, questioned if she was really in his department, which would technically make her his junior. Coldly, Mia cut him off, reminding him of what she said before, that it would be better if they acted like strangers and minded their own business. Without another word, she turned and walked away, leaving him standing there confused, unable to understand why she was so angry. As those memories resurface, he forces himself to calm down. He tells himself to forget it. He had already promised not to care anymore. It was nothing but leftover feelings. Still, he can't help but wonder if the family moving in next door could possibly be her. Then he shakes off the thought, telling himself no way, that's impossible. Just then the doorbell rings. When Tai-Soo opens it, he freezes. Standing there with a plate of cake is Chamia. She greets him with a bright smile, explaining she just moved in next door and hopes they can get along. He stands there completely bewildered. Mia, just as startled, blurts out that she brought rice cake. Then suddenly, she shoves the plate at his face. He doesn't even react, which makes her scowl and accuse him again of being a stalker. Calmly, he points out that she's the one who showed up at his door. Suspicious, Mia asks if the apartment belongs to a friend. He answers it's his own. She then asks if he's planning to move out anytime soon. He replies simply that he isn't. Hearing this, she grows frustrated, blaming herself for signing the lease too quickly just because the apartment was cheap and close to school. Watching her reaction only makes Tai-Soo more confused. Soon Mia's tone shifts back to calm as she says it would be best if they didn't bother each other. As neighbors, they should act like the other doesn't exist. Still stunned, Tai-Soo reluctantly agrees, even addressing her as ma'am. Suddenly Mia grabs a fire extinguisher and mutters strangely that she feels like she overheard something she shouldn't have. The sight of the cylinder makes him uneasy, and he rushes to close the door. But Mia blocks it with her foot, refusing to let it shut. He asks why she's doing that, reminding her she was the one who called him Mr. First. She presses him to open the door so they can talk about what he just said. Frustrated, he snaps back, pointing out that since they're the same age, she's just as old as him. Narrating to himself, he admits the truth. His ex-girlfriend, the one he broke up with 5 years ago, just moved in next door. Her name is Mia. When the door opens again, Mia confronts him, accusing him of still not reflecting. She warns him that if he confesses now, she'll only half kill him. Tai-Soo's mind drifts to the past. He remembers where he used to see her most, the library at sunset, his favorite time of day. But looking at her now, he can't understand why she's changed so much. What happened in those years to make her glare at him like she truly wanted to kill him? He tries to recall if he did anything wrong back then, but nothing comes to mind. She was the one who made the promise, and she was the one who never showed up. Later, the doorbell rings again, pulling him out of his thoughts. Checking the camera, he sees Mia standing there drenched, her clothes soaked. When he opens the door, she looks helpless, asking if he knows how to check water pipes. Apparently, the whole floor is flooded, leaving him stunned. He rushes to check and explains it looks like a pipe burst from the cold, telling her to call the landlord. She sighs, saying she already tried, but the landlord didn't answer. Frustrated, she mutters that if she'd known this would happen, she would have just spent more money on a better place. She grumbles about how unlucky it is for this to happen on her very first day moving in. Watching her shiver, Tai-Soo recalls a past moment where she trembled from the cold the same way. He stares without realizing until she notices, startled, asking why he's looking. Embarrassed, he quickly turns away and denies it. She picks up a cleaning stick, insisting he was staring because they made eye contact. She orders him to fix the situation. That's when he notices her wet clothes turning see-through. Flustered, he looks away as she mocks him, making silly faces, teasing that he must be thinking something weird at a time like this. Blushing, he raises his voice in protest, saying it's not like that. She presses him harder, asking what it is then. Cornered, he blurts out, red-faced, that he's just worried about her. His words leave her stunned for a second. Gathering himself, he grabs her collar lightly, telling her to come inside so he can give her something to dry off with. She questions him, but he explains if she stays like that, she'll catch a cold. Instead of accepting, she hits him with a stick, yelling she can just stay in her own place. He warns her not to swing it dangerously, but she keeps hitting until finally calming down. With a sigh, she admits she's thankful for his help, but makes it clear she doesn't want to owe him anything. She doesn't want any more involvement. Entering her room, she orders him to stop meddling and just go to bed unless he wants his weekend ruined. He asks if she'll be okay once the pipe is shut off. As she steps inside, she freezes at the chill. He points out the boiler will stop too, leaving her with no heat. Trembling, she insists it's no big deal, it's just winter. Watching her, he mutters she's stubborn. Blushing faintly, he adds an offer if she wants. He'll charge 1,101 per hour to stay warm in his room. If she doesn't like it, forget it. She cuts him off, saying there should be one more condition. That catches him off guard. The scene shifts. Now he stands outside his own apartment, questioning if the situation is really okay. He only meant for her to dry off and stay warm until the landlord came. But instead, Mia paid him 3,000 extra to use the shower. As she bathes, he waits anxiously in the hallway. It feels strange. A moment ago, she was so hostile. Now she's way too defenseless. And inside, a strange feeling stirs. Not excitement, not pleasant, just the uneasy sense he's forgetting something important. At that moment, two classmates arrive carrying drinks. They ask about the flood, teasing him for showing up 10 minutes earlier than their planned hangout. He suddenly realizes with a jolt he completely forgot about this meeting. Staying quiet, he listens as they chat about the place, calling it the guardian of their last train rides, their beloved hangout spot. They admit they were worried it might be unusable. Then one of them notices water leaking from the room next door, saying it looks like a pipe burst there even though Hyun said this was Tae-soo's place. The other adds Hyun was especially worried, which is why they came. Hearing this, and glancing at Mia's room right beside his, Tae-soo panics. His mind races at what would happen if they barged in and found her inside. To avoid trouble, he quickly suggests they go drink outside instead. Nervously, he explains his place is a mess from the flood, so he'll treat them. They're shocked, asking if he hit his head. They tease, pulling his cheeks, saying maybe he's an alien pretending to be him. Annoyed, he demands to know if they're going or not. Overjoyed, they agree, joking they might never hear him offer to pay again. Relieved, he thinks it's settled. He plans to clean quick and join them. But just as they're about to leave, Mia steps out of his room, announcing she's done showering. Tae-soo freezes in fear. Mia notices the two guys and casually asks who they are. His classmates go silent, stunned at the sight of a girl walking out of his place after bathing. Exactly what he dreaded happens. They grab him, demanding to know why such a pretty girl is coming from his room. One even accuses him of leading an innocent girl astray. Flustered, he places a hand on Mia's shoulder, blurting out that she's his younger sister. Mia is shocked at the sudden lie, but his classmates don't believe him. They shout there's no way such a classy girl could be related to someone as shabby as him. Mia whispers, questioning the sister excuse, but he silences her, telling her to just go along if she doesn't want more trouble. He explains these are his classmates, seniors in his department, so the lie works. Reluctantly, Mia plays along, confirming she's his sister. Her cute expression instantly makes them fall for her. Then a bang echoes from the wall as another girl shows up laughing, questioning how she never heard about this before. His classmates are shocked again. This girl is Na Hyun, 21 years old, from his hometown, a junior who has secretly loved him for 10 years. The scene shifts to next morning at the university. Hyun corners Tae-soo, grilling him with sharp questions. She demands to know if he really made up the story about Mia, being his younger sister, just to cover things up. Calm and steady, he insists he was telling the truth. Hyun presses harder, asking if absolutely nothing happened between them. Casually, Tae-soo repeats that nothing did. Around them, other students whisper, speculating if the two might actually be dating. Tae-soo's thoughts drift back to the mess with the burst pipe. Luckily, the landlord had shown up later and taken care of it, so things didn't spiral. Hyun, meanwhile, reminds herself that Tae-soo isn't the type to lie to her. She admits she doesn't fully understand what happened, but since it's him, she chooses to believe. She mutters to herself that if it had been Mani or Young Hanbi, she might have doubted them. But Tae-soo is different. She's known him far too long. He reflects quietly, noting that Na Hyun is not just a university junior, but a childhood friend he's known for over 10 years. The youngest in a family of 3 brothers and 1 sister, all tied to a big taekwondo studio in their neighborhood. Hyun grew up with fighting in her blood. Even though she's small, she was naturally talented. By the 6th grade, she had already become a local legend, known for countless fights. People even gave her a nickname, the Crazy Chihuahua of Gwangjang-dong. Shortened in Korean, it became Doki. As they head toward the student council room, Hyun brings up something more serious. She asks about Mia, pointing out that she's definitely Chamia. Taesu frowns, questioning why she's asking. Hyun explains that Mia has changed way too much. Her body, her vibe, her aura. It's hard to believe she's the same person from before. Taesu tries brushing it off, saying maybe she just grew up, but Hyun isn't convinced. She insists that doesn't explain it, saying the girl only feels vaguely similar, like she's staring at a totally different person. Then Hyun voices the real question. Why did Mia vanish without a word back then, only to come back now? She reminds him he went through a lot because of her sudden disappearance. Right then another girl enters, interrupting by asking who disappeared without saying anything. Startled, Hyun greets her as Hyu Sunbae. This is Song Hyu, 24, the student council president of public administration, and also the girl Taesu secretly has a crush on. She greets them warmly, thanking Hyun and Taesu for helping out so early even though they're not in the council. She explains they're short on people because of the department MT preparations. Hyun confidently reassures her, saying she's fine with the work. Then she turns to Taesu, asking if he's okay too, wondering if he isn't too busy with part-time jobs. Seeing his crush, Taesu's heart races. He quickly replies there's no problem, even adding that he quit all overlapping jobs just to make time. Surprised, Hyu asks if he's really okay going that far. He reassures her not to worry, explaining he recently earned extra income. Relieved, she smiles, calling it good news. Fired up by her presence, he insists she should just tell him what to do. Watching this, Hyun pouts, annoyed he only acts this way around Hyu. Together, they start helping her organize things. She gives clear instructions, pointing out what items go where and what needs moving. Taesu, while following along, thinks to himself about Song Hyu, the girl a year above him who he secretly likes. Suddenly, Monkey and Yanga appear, poking at his cheeks and teasing. Monkey smirks, pointing out how shocking it is that Taesu actually ditched part-time jobs to help. Yanga adds, mocking, that he always said he never did unpaid work. Taesu thinks these two especially must never find out about his sacrifices. But Yanga smirks knowingly, saying they already know. He jokes it must be because of a girl. Embarrassed, Taesu's face turns red. Yanga keeps at it, saying this year's freshmen are supposed to be insane. Looks, backgrounds, all on another level. Monkey chimes in, saying among them, the girl Taesu brought yesterday stood out the most. Yanga agrees, claiming she's his future wife, the most impressive of the bunch. Then he remembers Taesu was with Hyun yesterday. Just then Hyun steps in, pulling both of them back. She hides her irritation behind a forced smile, telling them firmly to get back to work. They grumble, but obey, and soon everyone is working efficiently. When the tasks wrap up, Hyu smiles warmly, announcing that the day's work is finished. She thanks everyone for their effort and tells the student council members to gather at the front gate by 7, while the rest should come at 8. She thanks Taesu and Hyun specifically for coming early despite not being part of the council. With a playful wink, she adds that after the MT, drinks are on her, so they better not skip out. Fired up, Taesu declares with passion that even if he got into a car accident, he'd still show up. Hyun, watching him, can't help but feel both frustration and disgust at his dramatic behavior. She mutters awkwardly that he doesn't have to go that far. Later that evening, Taesu returns to his flat. Unlocking the door, he thinks about Mia's sudden return. He admits to himself that claiming he's not shaken would be a lie. Still, he reminds himself that Hyu Sunbae is the one who matters. Even with Chamia back, his focus is on her. At that moment, Mia passes by. They both freeze when they see each other. His eyes land on the huge pile of snacks she's carrying. He remarks that if she eats that much, she'll get fat. Embarrassed, Mia snaps back, asking why he cares, saying she should be allowed to eat what she wants. She explains it's not like she bought all of it for herself. She's planning to share on the MT bus tomorrow. Taesu scoffs, comparing her behavior to a grade schooler, reminding her they already bought snacks with club funds. Mia stops in surprise, asking if he's going to MT too. He confirms. She asks again, almost in disbelief, and he affirms once more. Mia then pleads with him not to go, saying she doesn't want him ruining her first MT. She explains that as a sunbae, he's been aplenty, so he could skip just one. But for her, as a freshman, it's her very first MT, and she wants it special. Tae-soo steps closer, saying that while they're at it, he has a question. He demands to know what annoys her so much, what he did that was so wrong. He reminds her she was the one who broke the promise. Her expression darkens. She coldly admits he's right, that it was her fault. She reminds him she told him not to act like he knew her. With that, she walks away. He tries to stop her, but she doesn't respond. Left behind, he fumes, wondering why it always turns out this way when they meet. The scene shifts forward. The day of the MT finally arrives. Hee-yu explains to the group that too many people signed up at the last minute, leaving no room left on the bus. Because of that, 2 people will have to ride with her in the car. It turns out those 2 are Tae-soo and Mia. Embarrassed, the 2 glance at each other, clearly uncomfortable. On the bus, everyone had already settled into their seats. Hyun sat quietly, but her friend leaned closer, asking what was wrong. Hyun tried to brush it off, saying it was nothing, but her friend kept teasing, wondering if she was restless because she could not see her husband, meaning Tae-soo. The moment his name dropped, Hyun's face went bright red, caught between shock and embarrassment. With her cheeks burning, she stammered, denying it, insisting she and Tae-soo were not like that at all. Her friend grinned, clearly entertained by her reaction, saying she was only pointing out he was someone Hyun had known for a long time. Then she casually added that Tae-soo was not even on the bus since he was riding with Hee-yu's sunbae. That hit Hyun like a jolt. She nervously asked if that was true. Her friend nodded and said another freshman was in that car too, someone named Mia. The second that name came up, Hyun's expression froze in shock. Meanwhile, Tae-soo and Mia were seated inside Hee-yu's car. Hee-yu checked on them, asking if they were ready and had not forgotten anything. Mia said she was fine, and Tae-soo said the same. Mia then turned to glance at him, calling him sunbae while staring at what he was doing. Tae-soo, wearing a helmet, calmly explained it was for safety and even handed one to her, saying life was precious. She stared at him, baffled at why they would need helmets for a normal car ride. Trembling, Tae-soo muttered something about how, if it were bumper cars, helmets would not be necessary, which only made her more confused. Then Hee-yu hit the road. Her reckless driving left Mia in shock, clinging on until they finally arrived. By the time they reached their stop, she collapsed onto a bench, looking half dead. Her whole body was weak from the ride. She glanced at Tae-soo, asking faintly if she had already died. He handed her a canned coffee, asking why she was acting like she had just seen the light. Mia replied that it really felt like the Grim Reaper had come for her. Tae-soo pointed out that now she understood why every upperclassman had rushed to get on the bus. All the second years and above already knew about Hee-yu's terrifying driving. Mia admitted she was more shocked that despite driving like an F1 racer, Hee-yu's car did not have a single scratch. Then she looked back at Tae-soo, suspicious, asking why he was giving her coffee. He explained it was not from him, it was from Hee-yu's sunbae. Mia raised an eyebrow, asking if that was really true. Then she told him to thank Hee-yu for her, but added she was fine because she did not even like coffee. That floored Tae-soo. He asked if she really did not like it. A memory flashed back to when Mia used to gulp down every coffee he brought without hesitation. Back in the present, he muttered how strange that was, asking why he thought she liked it, reminding her how they always drank coffee together at the park. Mia cut him off, suggesting maybe he was mixing her up with someone else. She added that maybe she liked it back then, but she did not really remember those old moments anymore. With that, she stood up from the bench, looking him dead in the eye. She apologized, saying she did not want to get trapped in useless memories from the past. She reminded him that he knew better than anyone how tough things had been for her back then, and every time she saw him, those memories came flooding back, driving her crazy. Still, she admitted that whatever the case, fate had shoved them together again. Same school, same department, even living as neighbors. Because of that, she said she would not ask him to act like he did not know her at all. Instead, She bowed and asked him to just treat her like an ordinary junior. She promised to take back all the harsh things she had said until now. Then she turned and walked away, leaving Tae-soo alone with her words. Sitting in silence, Tae-soo processed it all. He admitted to himself that Mia had just rejected him, not with anger, but in the most polite and final way possible. The Mia he used to know was gone. He wondered why she even admitted to recognizing him earlier. If she had just acted like they were strangers from the start, things might have been easier. Before his thoughts could spiral, Hugh showed up and asked what he was doing sitting there. Startled, he quickly said he was just cloud watching. Hugh tilted her head, surprised, asking if that was actually fun. After a pause, Tae-soo admitted to himself it really was not. Once again, his mind went back to Mia's words. He reflected that what she said made sense. People always said even mountains could change in 10 years, so 5 years was more than enough for a person to change completely. Comparing the time they had been together to the years apart, he realized the gap was huge. The scene shifted to Hugh and Tae-soo standing together. She was on the phone with Soo-bin, while he, lost in thought, found himself staring at her. When she turned and noticed, she asked what was wrong. Her gentle tone made his heart race, and for a second, he blushed. Flustered, he quickly said she had picked a really nice place for the MT. Brightening, Hugh explained she and Soo-bin had put a lot of thought into it since it was their last gathering before graduation, and they wanted it to be memorable. Hearing that, Tae-soo thought her words sounded exactly like what a real sunbae would say. Inside, his resolve hardened. He had one goal, to confess to her before she graduated. Even though Mia had reappeared, he was not wavering. They kept walking together, chatting lightly. Tae-soo commented that the place must have been expensive and admitted he had not even paid. She reassured him it was fine, saying after everything he had done for them, this was nothing. Then she asked where the freshman was. Tae-soo answered that Mia said she would walk around for a bit before coming back. Right on cue, Mia appeared, this time dressed head to toe in a game cosplay outfit, complete with a helmet and a hockey stick. She asked if they were ready and declared she was all set. Tae-soo thought her getup was weird, while Hugh laughed, calling the new freshman funny. Looking at Tae-soo, Hugh asked if her driving was really that scary. Without hesitation, he put his helmet back on, saying it was not scary at all. Concerned, Hugh pressed again, asking if it was really that bad. The scene shifted again, showing Mia completely worn out. Other girls surrounded her, asking what had happened. One explained she had been this year's unlucky passenger of Hyu's infamous ride, adding that only Tae-soo ever managed to come out of it looking fine. Another muttered that unless someone was as unbothered as him, no one could survive it. Just then, Tae-soo felt a tap on his shoulder. Turning, he found another freshman standing there, asking if he had a moment. It was Shin Dabin, a 20-year-old who had just entered the university. The scene then moved forward. Hyu stood in front of everyone with a wide smile, announcing that the freshman orientation for the year was officially finished. Her cheerful voice carried through the hall as she introduced the next part of the night, a casual hangout with drinks. She explained that the organizers had already split everyone into groups of 6, mixing upperclassmen and freshmen to make sure everyone could talk and enjoy themselves. Lifting her hand high, she called for cheers in the name of the mighty medic. The hall immediately echoed with voices as everyone raised their cups and shouted together. Laughter filled the place as the party kicked off. But then Mia suddenly stepped forward. Looking hesitant, she asked if she could switch groups. Hyu, standing close by, answered firmly that changes were only allowed once every hour. Tae-soo, meanwhile, silently wondered how these strange groupings had even been decided. Unlike the others, his group felt oddly unbalanced with way too many girls. The thought left him uneasy. Across the hall, male students glared at him, jealousy written all over their faces. They cursed under their breath, grinding their teeth about why all the pretty girls seemed to be around Tae-soo. Feeling their stares, Tae-soo sighed inwardly at the unwanted attention. Just then, Dabin raised her juice, lightly tapping his cup with hers. She gave a playful wink and leaned closer. The bold move caught Hyun's eye, and her face stiffened with jealousy. Not wanting to lose, she quickly lifted her own drink and joined in with a stiff cheers, leaving Taisu caught between the two girls. His gaze drifted toward Mia, who was sipping her drink. Mia noticed and asked if they really had to clink glasses and say cheers every time before drinking. Taisu replied that it was not really necessary, but while drinking, he admitted to himself that this MT was already starting to feel tiring. This year's MT had way more attendees than usual. The reason was simple. The trio of influencer freshmen, Dabin, Yoonji, and Yenwoo. Yoonji was a study vlogger and live streamer. She had started streaming back in 9th grade and had built up around 40,000 subscribers. Yenwoo, who had entered after retaking the exam, ran a horror radio channel. Her pale skin and husky voice had made her stand out in that niche. As for Dabin, Taisu realized he did not know much about her. Curious, he asked. Yoonji looked surprised, asking if he really did not know. Taisu blinked, wondering if he was supposed to. Yoonji then explained that Dabin was the person behind Dabin's Fun Day, a very popular variety gaming channel with around 320,000 subscribers. She praised her as a great gamer and streamer. Dabin, embarrassed, waved it off, saying she was not anything special and only got attention for being a little decent at games. But to Taisu, she seemed like the most famous one of the three. He remembered how Hyu Sunbai once mentioned that this year had many well-known freshmen. That was why she had grouped them with him to prevent any incidents. She had called him the safest choice. Now he understood what she meant in her text, though he still was not sure why she thought he was safe. Dabin then asked if Taisu played games. He answered that he did, but only once in a while. When Dabin casually called him Appa, Hyun silently fumed, upset at how easily she addressed him. At the same time, Taisu noticed the sharp glares from the other guys who were clearly frustrated that all the pretty girls were gathered around him. He thought to himself that their jealousy explained why so many people wanted to come to the MT. Suddenly, Dabin's eyes lit up as she brought up the game Goop Story. Taisu was surprised to hear that Dabin also played the game. She revealed that she had been into it since elementary school. She asked which server he used, and Taisu answered that he was on the Sunduk server. Dabin's eyes lit up with excitement. That was her server too. Shocked, Taisu turned to Mia and asked if she had played on the same server as well. Mia froze, quickly gulping down her juice before nervously stammering. She pretended not to understand, asking if he was talking about goob serving, like working a restaurant. Inside, she reminded herself of their deal to act like they did not know each other. Dabin then mentioned a certain detail about their server. She said there was a notorious gold farmer named Han Yong Dong Han Taisu, a real troublemaker, and it had the exact same name as his. Taisu admitted that it was indeed him. Dabin stared at him, processing the truth. After a moment, she excused herself and left for the bathroom. As she washed her hands, she muttered that she had suspected it from the start. She confessed that the moment she heard the name Han Yong Dong, who during the welcome party, she had a feeling. Now that she had confirmed it was truly him, Yenwoo, who was nearby, remarked that since their school was in Yeongdong and his name was Taisu, it would actually be stranger if it was not him. She then questioned why Dabin had been looking for him so intently. Grinding her teeth, Dabin revealed the reason. She explained that in the game, her master, Fallen Power Angel, had been forced to quit. Her master had run into trouble after being made to pay compensation money all because of that idiot. Before leaving, her master had told her she was gone for good and asked Dabin to carry on the future of their BAP guild. Slamming her palms against the sink, Dabin fumed. She cursed that it was all because of him. If not for Taisu, she and her master would have already defeated the final boss. Yenwoo asked what Dabin was planning to do. Was she thinking about revenge? Dabin gave a sly grin. Instead of revenge, she said she would seduce him. Yenwoo was taken aback, but Dabin confidently boasted that she had never once failed when she decided to win someone over. The narration then cut back to their school life. Though they now met again as senior and junior, in reality, they were bitter enemies. Being in the same school meant their paths crossed often, and little by little, their feelings started to stir. By the time those emotions reached their peak, Dabin revealed her true aim. Crushing her juice kin under her foot, She declared that she would trample on him at the very moment he confessed his feelings. This, she said, was the perfect way to avenge her master. Yenwoo gave her a knowing look, teasing that her head was like a flower garden, but admitted it was strangely cute. As they stepped out of the bathroom together, Dabin shivered and complained about the chill. She grumbled about why there were only 2 bathrooms for so many people and admitted she had not wanted to use the outdoor one because of the freezing weather. She muttered that it was what happened when a place got too crowded. Just then, she bumped into someone. Startled, she looked up and found herself face to face with 3 big men. They looked her over, commenting that she was cute and that they had seen her around before. The scene then shifted, showing Yenwoo hurrying toward the group, explaining that Dabin was now surrounded by members of the university wrestling team. But instead of trouble, the moment had turned into an unexpected fan signing event. He observed the scene and asked if that was really a problem. Hearing this, the other students grew excited and began shouting that it was a signing event with Dabin. They rushed for one as well. With many of them pushing forward, eager to join in, Hyu quickly shouted for Tae-soo to help out inside and asked Hyun to give her a hand. Hyun agreed immediately. Tae-soo, however, questioned whether he should be going outside to help instead of Hyun. Just as Tae-soo prepared to move, Mia grabbed his shirt from behind. She urgently told him not to go outside, warning that there was a problem in the girls' dorm. They made their way toward the dorm. When they reached the building, Tae-soo hesitated, wondering if he was even allowed inside since it was the girls' dorm. Mia didn't let him stall, telling him firmly they needed to check it themselves. Tae-soo tried to ask what the big deal was, but Mia pointed toward a charging outlet and typed quickly on her phone. She explained it wasn't just an outlet, it was actually a hidden camera. Tae-soo froze, letting out a startled sound, but Mia quickly hushed him again, clearly irritated. As they stepped away, Tae-soo asked curiously how she had even noticed it. Mia paused, unsure what he meant. He clarified that he was asking about the outlet camera, pointing out that most people wouldn't spot something like that just by looking. Mia answered that she had seen something similar before, but added that the real problem wasn't how she found it. What mattered was when it had been placed, who put it there, and if more were hidden around. That triggered a memory in Tae-soo's head. He pictured Mia back in the library years ago, raising her voice and saying the most important question was always why. She had shouted it so loudly that people stared, leaving her embarrassed before she sank into her chair. He remembered asking if that was why she spent so much time reading. Back then, Mia had answered with passion, saying books were about people, their thoughts, what drove them forward, and she loved asking herself that one question. But why though? At the time, Tae-soo thought that mindset pulled him in before he even realized it. And but why though had been Mia's old catchphrase. Now in the present, she repeated it again, saying the key question here was still why. Why would anyone do this? Hearing her say it hit him like a wave of déjà vu. He even remembered how he once told her the phrase didn't sound natural, but she kept using it anyway because it felt right to her. Without realizing it, Tae-soo found himself staring. Mia caught it instantly and asked why he was looking at her like that. He hesitated, then admitted the polite tone she was using felt strange to him. He understood it must be awkward for her to turn to him when he was the only one there, especially after how harshly she had spoken earlier at the rest stop. Mia's cheeks turned faintly pink as she gave a nervous smile and apologized. She admitted she felt like an outsider, and because of that, she had no one else she could rely on. Hearing that, Tae-soo realized she must have been carrying this worry alone for a while. Then Mia reached out her hand and said she would talk casually if that was what he wanted, directly asking him for help. She addressed him properly as Tae-soo's son Bae. He froze, unable to respond right away. Seeing his silence, Mia kept going. She told him he had always been sharp with things like this, reminding him of the time a game console went missing in class. Everyone else gave up, but he didn't. She admitted it was embarrassing to ask for his help when they barely talked now, but confessed she had no one else to turn to. Finally, Tae-soo reached out his own hand, asking if she was really going to keep pretending they were just strangers. Mia ignored the question and repeated seriously that she was asking for his help. At that moment, Tae-soo felt like he was looking at the Mia he used to know. He asked if the camera could have been installed by the door managers. Mia shook her head. She said she had checked other rooms thinking it might be the case, but only hers had one. She added she didn't believe any of the guys were responsible either, since Hyu's son Bae had even set up a watch to make sure no boys went inside. Thinking of Hyu made Taisu's face warm. Mia went on, explaining that after arriving she had been stuck in bed with car sickness, so she remembered clearly that nothing was there when she first walked in. The first time she sensed something strange was right before orientation. From that, Taisu concluded the camera must have been installed then. Mia agreed, saying it could only have been one of the 3 girls sharing the room with her, Dabin, Yunji, or Yen Woo, or someone close to them. Taisu thought about it carefully. If Mia was telling the truth, this was an inside job. Someone in their department had bad intentions. Mia told him not to spread it yet. Taisu asked why. She explained they didn't know who did it or why, and if rumors spread, an innocent person might get blamed. Blushing slightly, Taisu asked if they should at least tell Hyu. He said she was trustworthy, and she was also the student council president. Mia looked at him in surprise and asked if Hyu was the one he liked. The question made Taisu's face burn. He gripped his can of coffee tightly, stammering and denying it, asking what she meant by crush. Mia studied him, pointing out that he was pretending not to know even though it was obvious. Right then, Hyun stumbled out from the bushes, clearly drunk. She asked what they were talking about, then turned to Mia, announcing that she had finally found her uni. She pressed harder, demanding to know what the 2 of them had been sneaking off to do. Taisu froze at the sight of her drunken state and immediately asked where the wrestling club guys were. Hyun snapped irritably that they had been getting on her nerves, so she threw them all. Mia's eyes widened in surprise, questioning if Hyun had really done that. Hyun puffed her cheeks, frustrated. Mia softly called her name, feeling awkward inside. She thought that ever since bumping into Hyun in the hallway, things had felt uneasy. Suddenly, Hyun shouted at Mia, demanding to know what was going on with her and Taisu. Mia looked confused at the question. Hyun's voice rose again, asking what Mia really wanted. She reminded her that Mia had said coming to the same school as Taisu was just a coincidence, that moving in next door was just another coincidence, and that they should not act like they knew each other anymore. Hyun accused her of lying, saying even after they arrived here, she kept up the same act, but now she had secretly called him out in the middle of the night. Her voice cracked as she burst into tears. She cried that Mia had claimed she and Taisu were long over, that she didn't even like him anymore. She kept repeating her frustration until she collapsed to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Seeing her like this, both Mia and Taisu felt deeply unsettled. Later, the narration explained that just as Mia suggested, they decided to keep it secret from everyone except Hyu. They agreed to act in the morning and ended their discussion there. But when the morning came, an incident broke out. Taisu saw a crowd of students gathering, gossiping, some even fighting. His chest tightened with anxiety as he watched the chaos. In the middle of the group, Yunji raised her voice, pointing straight at Mia. She shouted that it was her. She claimed she had seen it herself. She accused Mia of trying to spy on their room by installing a hidden camera. Hyu grew anxious and raised her voice, trying to calm the crowd and asking everyone to settle down. The students murmured in confusion, whispering about the word camera that had just been thrown around. Hyun clung to Taisu nervously, trembling as she asked how something like secret spying could even involve Mia, her uni. Taisu gently placed a hand on her shoulder and told her there was no way Mia would ever do such a thing. Mia stayed still, carefully watching the scene unfold. She had not expected to be accused so directly, and when she looked closer, she realized it was Yunji standing against her. It was revealed that Yunji, 20 years old, was Mia's roommate and also a YouTuber with a following. Mia recalled how during the welcome party Yunji had acted overly friendly in a way that had made her uncomfortable. From across the room, Taisu gave Mia a small signal, silently telling her not to worry and that he would step in if things got worse. But Mia replied with her own subtle gesture, letting him know she could handle it. Inside, she thought to herself that Taisu was far more quick-witted than she ever imagined, surprising her with his foresight. A memory came back to Tae-soo. He recalled carrying a drunk Hyun on his shoulder while walking with Mia. He had told her then that maybe they should stop trying to track down the culprit. Mia had been shocked, asking if he really meant it. Tae-soo explained that it was almost impossible to identify her. Since all the suspects were girls, did Mia plan to interrogate every single one of them? Mia had asked what he wanted to do instead. Tae-soo said the answer was simple: make the culprit expose herself. Mia asked if he meant some kind of reveal, and Tae-soo pushed her further, asking how she planned to flush her out. Mia had explained that her plan was to take turns keeping watch until the culprit came back for the device, since eventually someone would need to retrieve it. Tae-soo argued that the culprit could notice and destroy the evidence before they had proof. Mia asked if that meant doing nothing. Tae-soo replied with a question of his own, asking her when people usually let their guard down. When she hesitated, he answered that it was in the early morning, right after waking up. If someone could sleep peacefully, it meant they felt safe, and that was when they were at their most defenseless. That would be the best moment to catch her. Mia had listened without interrupting, absorbing his reasoning carefully. Now back in the present, Yeonji's voice rose as she continued accusing Mia. She insisted she had seen Mia hiding the camera that morning. She shouted that Mia could deny it all she wanted, but others had seen it too and urged them to back her up. Dabin stepped forward, saying she had noticed Mia acting strangely, looking through her belongings earlier that morning. She added that she saw Mia put something into her pocket, though she had not thought it was a camera at the time. Tae-soo's thoughts raced. Right now, the only people who really understood what was happening were Hyu, Mia, and him. He had expected the culprit to move in secret, not to attack openly like this. Mia smiled faintly at Yeonji and brushed off the tension. So this was what all the noise was about. She said she thought it would be something serious. Then she pulled the object from her pocket. It was just a toothbrush. Dabin looked shocked, asking if that was really all. Mia turned back to Yeonji, holding it up, and asked what she meant by calling this a camera. Yeonji faltered, stammering that she had only overheard Mia talking on the phone, saying she was with famous people and was going to send them videos. Mia smiled calmly and offered her phone. If Yeonji really believed she had recordings, then she should check the call logs, the messages, the gallery, anything she wanted. If nothing was there, all Yeonji had to do was admit she misheard, call it a misunderstanding, and apologize. Mia even added that if Yeonji still doubted her, she could search through her things herself. Then Mia opened her bag in front of everyone. Out came notebooks, pens, and a charger, nothing suspicious. Yeonji's voice cracked as she stuttered in confusion, unable to explain. Mia kept smiling as she showed her belongings and said this was everything she had brought. The only other things were snacks they had all shared yesterday, which she did not even bother to show. Hyu spoke up nervously, telling Mia she did not need to go this far. Mia reassured her, saying misunderstandings happened and the fastest way to clear them was to be transparent. The more Mia revealed, the paler Yeonji looked. Her confidence was crumbling. Tae-soo realized this confrontation was already over. He thought that if there really was a culprit, it had to be one of Mia's roommates because it was too risky for anyone else. He remembered how he had even prepared for a retrieval attempt, rubbing a little of his own hand cream on the spot so he could identify the culprit by scent later. But since no one had come for it, the culprit clearly did not know the device had been found. That gap in information gave them the upper hand. His plan had always been to wait for the culprit to panic and reveal herself, but Yeonji had stepped forward instead. Did she really understand what kind of consequences this reckless move could bring? What unsettled him most was Mia's composure. Even under attack, she stayed calm and unshaken. Yeonji, however, refused to back down. She shouted desperately that Mia's body should be searched, insisting she could have hidden the device on herself. Hyu gasped, stunned by the accusation. Mia removed her glasses slowly with a smile and asked if it really had to go that far. She told Yeonji this was her chance to admit it was a mistake and apologize. She explained she was giving her a way out because everyone made mistakes and this was the moment to walk away quietly. Then her expression sharpened. Did Yeonji really want to drag it further? Taisu's chest tightened. He realized Mia was now truly angry. He tried to stop her, warning her not to go too far. But Mia calmly dropped her jacket and glasses, leaving everyone frozen. Her figure, slim waist, and striking curves shocked the room into silence. Facing Yunji, she asked what was next. Would Yunji claim she hid the device in her hair? Where else was she supposed to have hidden it? Mia stepped closer, her voice cutting like ice. If Yunji still did not trust her even after all this, should she strip everything off to prove it? Yunji's eyes filled with tears, and she finally broke down. Later, Taisu placed a jacket over Mia's shoulders and asked if she really had to push things that far. Mia blushed at his support and whispered a quiet thanks. After that, Taisu explained to the group that the entire pension had been searched, but the camera still wasn't found. The situation ended with Yunji breaking down and surrendering. Overwhelmed, she cried as she apologized to Mia. Taisu then addressed everyone, telling them to leave the matter behind. The misunderstanding was cleared up, Yunji had apologized properly, and Mia had even said she forgave her. Mia, however, showed no emotion as she stood silently. Taisu admitted to himself that things could have gotten much worse, but it was Mia who had chosen to end it where it was. He hadn't expected her to rampage like that, but it worked. At that moment, Mia called out to Hiyu, asking if she could take Yunji aside to talk privately. Hiyu asked if she meant right away. Mia reassured her she had no intention of hitting Yunji, reminding her that she already forgave her. Yunji looked nervous at the request, but Mia smiled and added that if they left it unresolved, things would only stay awkward. She suggested Yunji should at least treat her to a drink. With that, Mia led her away. As they left, Hiyu quickly asked Taisu to follow and keep an eye on them. The next scene showed Mia sitting with Yunji, asking to hear her side of the story. Taisu was there as well, holding the camera. He explained that the reason he hadn't reported her immediately was because he wanted to confirm something first. He asked why she had installed it and what her goal was. Yunji was shocked to see the camera in his hands. Taisu pressed her, reminding her that Mia had already said she didn't want to blow the situation out of proportion. He urged Yunji to be honest. Nervously, she asked why he had the device, insisting that Mia must have been the one holding it. Just then, Hyun appeared and tugged at Yunji's cheeks. She revealed that she had been the one holding onto the camera the whole time. Taisu explained this was why the device never turned up during Mia's search. They had made it seem like Mia had it, but in reality, Hyun had collected it. In a flashback, it was shown how Hyun had discovered the device earlier, muttering that this must have been what people were talking about. By letting someone not involved hold it, they had removed the evidence safely. Taisu turned to Yunji, explaining that this was why it must have been so confusing. The camera was already gone by the time she woke up, and she was suddenly confronted with no time to react. Mia added that Yunji probably tried hard not to look suspicious, but her behavior had still given her away. She pointed out that when the three girls left the room, Yunji was the only one who glanced at the outlet. Then Taisu revealed the memory card. When they checked it, the footage showed Yunji turning on the device. Other recordings were there too, but all had the same thing in common. The lens was always aimed at the luggage, never at the people. Exposed, Yunji broke down in tears and confessed everything. She promised she hadn't meant harm. Taisu clarified what had really happened. Yunji had already built some recognition online, but often dealt with her belongings being stolen or damaged. She grew stressed and paranoid. So on group trips, she set up the device purely for security. She hadn't deleted the data or acted quickly enough because she never thought anyone would find it. When it looked like Mia had the camera, she panicked, fearing it might be used against her. If the others found out she had set it up, her reputation would collapse instantly. Yunji explained the device had a button that could wipe everything remotely, so she had desperately tried to recover it before anyone discovered the truth. She admitted her mind had gone blank, and the only move she could think of was to strike first by accusing Mia. Through tears, she explained that if the device was hidden, she had no way of dealing with it. But if she got back, she thought she could control the damage. That was the full truth behind the morning incident. Mia listened calmly and said she had already suspected it was something like that. If Yunji had bad intentions, she wouldn't have only aimed it at luggage. And if she wanted recordings, an audio device would have been safer. Still sobbing, Yunji apologized again and again. Taisu reflected that Mia must have known from the beginning, which was why she came to him instead of going to the police. Hearing Yunji's repeated apologies, Mia finally told her she would trust her. Everyone froze in shock at her words. Mia asked why they were all looking at her that way. Yunji admitted her mistake and took responsibility, and Mia said that was enough. Yunji cried harder, asking if Mia was really okay with forgiving her after everything. She called her Yuni, overwhelmed with guilt. Mia reassured her again, saying it was fine. She had only wanted to understand why Yunji installed the device. It wasn't as if she had become the true culprit. Mia smiled and explained she didn't want the department's atmosphere ruined so early in the semester. They could keep an eye on Yunji from now on, and if she lied again, then they would act. Her words turned sharp for a moment as she gave Yunji a chilling look, saying if she was lying, that expression alone was enough to scare her into telling the truth. Hyun whispered to Tae-soo in disbelief, wondering if this really was the same Mia she thought she knew. Tae-soo himself felt uncertain, realizing Mia seemed like a completely different person at times. The scene then shifted to the night when Tae-soo and Mia had been walking together with drunk Hyun. Mia had suddenly thanked him, calling him Sunbae. Surprised, Tae-soo asked why she was thanking him. Mia explained it was for helping without demanding anything. She admitted she had been worried because after she spoke to him so harshly, he could have just ignored her. She confessed she might have misunderstood him. Back in the present, Tae-soo remembered that moment and thought maybe she was right. That was how the MT incident ended quietly. Out of respect for Mia's wish not to blow it up, they kept it between the people involved. Yunji calmed down and handed the device over. Looking at the memory card, Tae-soo thought to himself that with this evidence, Yunji probably wouldn't try anything again, especially since she had promised to cooperate. She even told her roommates the truth, and since they had faced similar problems before, they sympathized quickly. At that moment, Yin-woo and Dabin appeared. Dabin grew emotional and apologized tearfully to Mia, saying she had been awful. Tae-soo noted that most of the others ended up apologizing more than anything else. After that, Mia turned to Tae-soo, thanking him and admitting she hadn't expected his quick thinking to work so well. Tae-soo asked if she would really be okay. Mia frowned, asking what he meant. Tae-soo clarified, asking if she wasn't embarrassed that everyone had seen her in so few clothes. Even if she was angry, wasn't that reaction a little too much? Mia, flustered, shot back asking what else she was supposed to do, to stand there and let Yunji keep accusing her. She said it had been way too annoying to ignore. Besides, it was only a sports bra. She quickly added that she wasn't that type of girl, making sure he understood. Tae-soo wondered what she meant by that. Blushing, Mia clarified she wasn't the kind of person who stripped without reason. When she said something once, he should take her seriously the first time. Her face went red with embarrassment, and seeing this, Tae-soo realized he had misunderstood her earlier. Still, he admitted that if Yunji had been lying completely, the outcome could have been very different. Mia agreed, saying she would have gone straight to the police if that was the case. She said Yunji didn't seem like that type and had just panicked. If it had been the true culprit, they would have handled things much better. Tae-soo agreed silently that the whole situation had been resolved in a surprisingly simple way. Mia ended the talk by saying that if something like this ever happened again, they would deal with it then. Tae-soo accepted her words, thinking that if she was fine with it, then it wasn't really his business. Mia shared that her only goal was to graduate peacefully without trouble. She admitted that when she discovered the device, she had been terrified, and even now the memory still made her shiver. Tae-soo was confused by her words. Mia continued, saying that now there was no one left to disturb her peace. Tae-soo asked if she really believed that, reminding her she was saying this right after causing chaos herself. Mia paused, but before she could answer, students suddenly swarmed her. To her shock, they started taking photos. Because of the incident, Mia had unexpectedly become famous. Some students came up, saying she shouldn't have hidden how cute she was. She panicked at the sudden attention. Nearby, Taisu's friends Monkey and Yanga looked furious and confronted him. They demanded an explanation, since he had told them Mia was his younger sister. Taisu thought to himself that Mia had no idea her actions had suddenly turned her into the center of attention for the entire department. The crowd grew larger. Students stared at Mia without her glasses and got even more excited. They exclaimed that she looked way better without her nerdy disguise. Some admitted they had already thought she was cute. Others offered to teach her makeup or begged her to make the expression she had shown earlier at Yunji. Someone even said she should ditch her sweatpants first. Overwhelmed by the flood of attention, Mia grew nervous. Taisu reflected that the students in their department were so eccentric that other departments called them weirdo calm instead of medic. Finally, Mia raised her voice, shouting at everyone to stop for a second. Her panic was obvious. Taisu concluded in his thoughts that she had definitely made herself unforgettable. The scene shifted to social media, where a post about her was already spreading. Seeing it, Mia was left completely stunned. On the second night of MT, the atmosphere got even wilder. Yenji grabbed the mic and announced loudly that since she had killed the vibe earlier, she was now going to bring it back. With that, she jumped onto the stage and started singing. Taisu thought to himself that despite all the chaos, the 3-day trip was finally coming to a peaceful close. Listening to Yenji sing, Hiyu let out a sigh of relief, saying she was glad everything had worked out. She admitted she had been nervous earlier. Standing beside her, Taisu nodded in agreement, but his mind wandered to Mia. Since the morning incident, the upperclassmen hadn't left her alone, constantly teasing her. One even tried to feed her a snack, telling her to open her mouth. Annoyed, Mia snapped back that she could eat by herself. Watching this, Taisu thought she had definitely been singled out and that this kind of treatment would probably last months. Still, he reminded himself this wasn't the time to focus on her. The whole reason he came to MT was Hiyu. He had even skipped 2 days of work for her. Normally, he avoided group trips, but this time he wanted to be with her. Yet here they were, and he hadn't managed to make a single move. Just then, some students approached Hiyu, saying they were out of soju and asking if she had more. Surprised at how fast it was gone, Hiyu reacted in disbelief. Taisu saw this as a chance to step out with her, but Hiyu said it would look bad if she left now. Instead, she asked Taisu to go for her. Hearing this made him blush, but he agreed. Inwardly, he admitted moments like these were exactly why he always fell short. Handing him her card, she told him to grab beer. Taisu accepted, telling himself it was fine, as long as he hurried back. Still, he thought it was a bit much to go alone. Back in the hall, Yanga was showing off, saying he'd make a bottle of beer disappear in one gulp, and if he succeeded, they should treat him to dinner. The girls instantly asked why it had to be them. Meanwhile, Taisu headed toward the girls' dorm. The girls greeted him cheerfully, most already tipsy. Hyun especially was in bad shape, completely wasted. One girl doodled on her face, while another said they should take a group photo once Hyun was ready. She even asked Taisu if he wanted in. Taisu thought to himself it was better to just go on alone than drag along such chaos. He reflected that after Mia caused an uproar in the morning, he hadn't expected such a calm night to follow. With that thought, he set off by himself. As he walked, his mind drifted back to Mia. He wondered where she had gone. It had been 5 years since he last saw her, so of course she had changed. But she seemed oddly knowledgeable about the outlet camera, and earlier she had brushed off questions by saying nothing worth mentioning had happened to her. He couldn't help but wonder how she stayed so calm and what she had been through during those missing years. Had she gotten involved in something dangerous? Just then, he spotted her standing by the roadside, quietly enjoying the night breeze under the moonlight. When Taisu called her name, she flinched and immediately tried to run, demanding to know how he found her. Shocked, he watched her flee, but then she stumbled and fell. He rushed to her side, offering his hand and asking if she was okay. Mia winced but blushed faintly as she looked up at him. He told her she looked like she had just seen a ghost. Mia quickly apologized, asking him to pretend he hadn't seen her and even promising to buy him ice cream later. Her words left Tae-soo more confused than before. Then she awkwardly asked if he was on an errand, adding that she thought the upperclassman had sent him out to catch her. Hearing this, Tae-soo realized just how much she must have been through. The two of them walked off together to buy the drinks. On the way, Tae-soo mentioned how intense their department always felt. Mia agreed, even joking that maybe the school only accepted extroverts at interviews. Tae-soo answered uncertainly, but Mia added that even though they were overbearing, they were still good people. She admitted that when she first arrived, she had worried about fitting in. Hearing that lifted Tae-soo's spirits. He never imagined he'd share a moment like this with her again. As they walked further, he pointed out how familiar the area looked. Mia asked what he meant, and Tae-soo reminded her of the back hill near their school where they used to hang out. Mia fell silent, glancing at her surroundings. Tae-soo thought he never would have believed he'd walk and talk with her again like this. He asked if the place sparked any memories, reminding her of how they borrowed stacks of books and stayed at the library until sunset. The scene cut back to high school, showing them reading together until Mia burst into tears over a character's death, resting her head on his lap. Tae-soo had teased her back then, saying her tears and snot had stained his pants. The memory made him laugh even now. Back in the present, Mia tilted her head, saying she didn't remember that happening. For Tae-soo, though, it was still vivid, one of the few happy memories from school. Mia remarked that he had changed. She didn't remember him being so easygoing. Tae-soo replied that people don't stay the same forever. He said part-time jobs had taught him how to get along with others. They weren't kids anymore, and since they keep crossing paths at school, it was better to apologize if there were things left unsettled. Mia went quiet, then admitted she had kept her distance because she thought it was for the best. She apologized if she had been too harsh. Tae-soo was stunned. He asked about their very first meeting at school, wondering if she remembered what he said. Mia asked if he meant the day of the entrance ceremony. The scene flashed back to that day, showing Mia telling him to mind his own business, saying it was better if they stayed strangers. Back in the present, Mia said it hadn't been his fault. She had simply wanted them to remain strangers as much as possible. She asked aloud why fate kept throwing them together. If not for the police station or campus, she never would have treated him so coldly. She apologized again, calling him Han Tae-soo, but said she didn't want to bring up the past. She admitted those years had been hard. If he really wanted to know, she could explain eventually. Since they'd see each other until graduation, avoiding him was impossible. Her words unsettled Tae-soo. Mia added that once graduation came, she wouldn't be around anymore. She told him they should head back since people were probably waiting and the air was getting cold. Tae-soo stayed quiet, afraid pushing further might reopen wounds or worse, make her disappear from his life again. Watching her walk ahead, he called after her, but before he could say more, she spotted Hyu and quickly urged him inside. Looking flustered, Mia apologized, saying the crowd was getting restless and wanted the drinks. The president shouted over the noise, telling everyone not to push and announcing the drinks had finally arrived. Mia raised her voice to calm the students, telling them to wait a moment. The crowd teased her, saying the girls had been looking for her and asking if she had tried to sneak away. Mia quietly said she had just gone for a short walk. Tae-soo thought to himself it was fine. There was no need to rush. Mia's only goal was to graduate, and tonight wasn't the only night that mattered. And so their first MT as third years ended. It had been packed with incidents, but left behind even more questions. On the way back, Hyu and Tae-soo were seen walking close together, their faces turning red as they glanced at each other. After 3 long days, Tae-soo finally got a moment alone with his crush. He was planning to confess, maybe even steal a kiss, but right as the mood set in, Mia ruined it by coughing loudly to grab attention. In her usual sharp tone, she said, "If the car's fine, can we just get moving? I'm exhausted and I want to go home already." Both Tae-soo and Hyu got flustered, Hyu even covering her face in embarrassment. Hyun chimed in, agreeing with Mia, saying it looked like nothing more than gravel hitting the windshield and asking if she should just call the insurance company herself. Taesu panicked and quickly apologized to Hyu, saying he had just slipped up. Hyu brushed it off, saying it was fine and the car was okay. In the end, nothing happened because of those two unwanted interruptions. Mia looked out the window and muttered that if she had known this would happen, she would have just taken the bus. Hyun raised a brow and asked if she avoided the bus on purpose. Mia froze, asking what she meant. Hyun got flustered and explained she only meant if Mia still had feelings for Taesu and used the bus as an excuse to be near him. Caught off guard, Mia laughed, hugged Hyun playfully, and teased her for sulking. Hyun turned bright red and stammered in embarrassment. Mia reassured her, saying it wasn't like that at all. She reminded her she had already said it was coincidence they ended up at the same school and that running into Taesu wasn't planned. She pointed out it had been 5 years since they last dated, and it was just a short thing during middle and high school. She insisted she didn't have lingering feelings anymore. Hyun pouted, asking if she really meant it. Mia smirked and whispered that if Hyun wanted, she'd even help her get with Taesu. Hyun went scarlet, asking if she was serious. Mia grinned, saying everyone could already tell how she felt, even if she never confessed. Hyun's confidence shattered as she admitted that since Taesu had tutored her as a kid, he probably only saw her as a student or little sister. Mia laughed, asking if that was really her excuse. Hyun yelled at her not to laugh. Mia apologized, but reminded her that Taesu was stiff and serious, so if it didn't work after 10 tries, she should try 100. Then Mia glanced outside toward Hyu and said that was probably the first obstacle anyway. The two of them clearly had plans brewing, but Taesu and Hyu had no clue what they were plotting inside the car. The scene shifted to a week later. The semester had started, and Mia showed up looking completely different. She had ditched her nerdy disguise, let her hair down, and pulled up in full drip, instantly standing out as the bold new face among the freshmen. Yeonji stuck close to her, begging to go to class together. Mia told her to quit following her, but Yeonji clung to her arm, saying she was the only one for her. Mia called her bold, but it was clear Yeonji had become obsessed. After the incident, she had fallen hard for Mia's charisma and was now glued to her like a lovesick fangirl. She even asked Mia to try streaming once since she was so cute. Mia flatly declined. When asked why she suddenly dropped her nerdy look, Mia explained that her sunbae promised to wait outside her place every morning to help with styling if she couldn't manage. Taesu didn't buy it. He thought back to the police station and realized Mia had always known how to dress well if she wanted. Just then, Hyun ran up happily, throwing herself at Taesu and calling him Appa. She asked if class was over, and when he nodded, she smiled, pointing out he didn't have work that night. She invited him to see the flowers blooming along the path near school. Taesu thought about how clingy she had been lately and wondered if she had always been this forward. Later, the scene shifted to a signboard advertising instant photos for 5,000 won each. Taesu stood proudly behind it, having found another way to make cash. Hyun, however, was stuck working the stand, grumbling that all she wanted was to look at flowers together. Taesu sheepishly explained that back in his first year, he had won an instant camera and film at a club event. Since reselling, it wouldn't be worth much. He had tossed it in storage and forgotten. When Hyun mentioned flowers, he realized this was the perfect way to use it and skipped his part-time job to set it up. Hyun was stunned, but when he thanked her for the idea, her mood brightened. She told herself this still counted as flower viewing in its own way. Smiling, she shouted for customers, calling out that instant photos were only 5,000 won each. She promised Taesu that if they finished early, he had to go see the flowers with her. He agreed, and she worked with renewed energy, determined that if 10 tries weren't enough, she would go for 100 or even 1,000 until her heart was heard. But then a voice cut through her excitement. A girl asked if the photos were really 5,000 won each, and if she could pick who she posed with. Hyun's face fell as she recognized the voice. Standing there was Dabin, the celebrity gamer herself. With a sly smile, she said she wanted a photo with Taesu. It was clear she wasn't here for fun. Dabin wanted payback, and her plan was to take Taesu for herself. Thanks for watching. I'll keep going when the next 5 chapters drop. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and sub. It really helps. Have a great day.